Culture Club, brought to you by Hanom, the freshest bottled water made in KUAM.
Hi everybody, I'm Antonette Labausa. I am a local artist and local carver. When I started, I was actually my first year being a teacher, and I had a lot of free time on my hands. It was summertime and you kind of got bored, and I was always fascinated as a child, like when I would see the fishermen wearing the spondylus and the sanahi, and I remember going to the Flame Tree festivals, asking local artists, like, hey, how much is this, the full spondylus, the whole shebang? And I remember it was really pricey. And at the time I didn't know the value of it. I guess it wasn't really spoken about like with my family, and I was always interested in it. I was just so drawn to it because I knew it represented our culture. I just never was exposed to it. But then I guess during that summer when I was, a teacher, and I was doing my own like research on how the spondylus kind of relates to Chamorro culture, and I was immediately just like amazed by it. And I don't know what happened. I just decided like, oh, I'm gonna go look for spondylus. So I checked beaches like in the south, and mostly where I thought like I could find big shells, and I think I found my first one. They're everywhere, mostly on the south, and like the beaches with all the rough sand and coral. So yeah, I found one, and I just became super addicted to it, and it was almost just like I was super drawn to it because I felt like it's something a part of me. And honestly, it just started as a hobby, and here we are. Most of the shells when I first started, I picked myself, and it took hours to kind of just go along the beach in the hot sun, picking the shells, and then you take it home, you clean it, you carve it into the shape that you like. You usually use a Dremel. I'm sure there's other ways to carve with like bigger machines and stuff. After you take it with the Dremel and you cut your shape, you kind of just take a sandpaper, as many sandpapers as you want, sand it down, smooth it out, and then polish it. Actually, when I was 12, we left Saipan, actually moved to Hawaii, so I kind of grew up there. And when people ask me, they're like, oh, where are you from? Like now, I always have a hard time answering like, oh, I grew up here, but I also grew up in Hawaii. And I guess to me, when I make spondylus, it makes me feel more connected, because I guess more connected to Saipan, because I never really had that upbringing when I was in, Hawaii. And yeah, it just makes me feel more solidified in my Chamorro identity. I had a lot of feedback on how they really like the way I take the time to sand it, polish it. I guess that's what stands out with my art. There are a lot of other local artists that carve, and they have their own specialty, and I think that one is mine. I think it's a good way to kind of express yourself in a different way that cultures express. Like a lot of people express themselves through poetry, or even like speaking in our native tongue. And personally, I can't speak Chamorro, and it really bums me out that I can't connect with other people in my own language. And for me to be able to express myself with spondylus and carving, I guess gives me that alternative to feel like I am Chamorro, you know what I mean? And in order to preserve that, I guess to just teach other people. And like I've taught my partner, she's been helping me too. So it's really nice to get together and connect in a certain way that how with other people. So I feel like if we keep spreading this tradition of traditions and cultural, art and different ways to express ourselves, then we'll find community and family. Yeah, and it's something I really enjoy and I identify with, like, culturally as well. It is definitely like therapeutic. Sometimes I find it like a form of self-care, like cultural self-care. At times though, I'm not gonna lie, when it becomes like, especially now when it becomes like a business, it does get to feel like it's a little overwhelming, just because I'm not the type of artist to mass produce, because I just simply cannot. I mean, it's handcrafted. Handcrafted art I think is really just unique in its own. And when I do it because I feel like I want to, it feels really just like a form of cultural self-care. Patience is number one. It takes a while to do the whole carving. I mean, you're looking at about an hour to 2 hours per piece, depending on how small or how big, and how well you want to polish it or make it smooth. It really just depends. And then my other advice is like, stick to your style, do what you want to do, carve when you want to carve. I guess I'm pretty sure a lot of artists have like blocks, and I've experienced those a lot. And sometimes the inspiration and motivation to carve again comes from like stepping away sometimes and kind of missing it. And when you get to reconnect yourself with that again, it just feels like the first time, I guess. I really just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has found interest in my piece, even if it's just looking at it, appreciating, I guess, for what it is in our culture. And if you were able to identify yourself culturally through my art, I appreciate it.
Culture Club, brought to you by Hanom, the freshest bottled water made in Guam.